I think it's smart for Haslam to say basically that it's a quarterback competition because you don't have a clear-cut starter. If you don't do nothing in your career or something the season before to make yourself a clear-cut starter, then you just don't have one. You know what I'm saying? I think the competition is healthy. It'll bring out the best in Shedeur. It'll bring out the best in Deshaun. You know what I'm saying? We know the clear-cut starters in the Bowls, like the Bakers, like them clear-cut starters. Josh Allen, them clear-cut starting guys. The 3 wins for Shedeur, that just ain't enough. And the 4 or 5 years of nothing from Deshaun, that just ain't enough. Yeah. So you don't have a clear-cut guy. So I like it, man. I think the competition is healthy. You know what I'm saying? Let them pub them up.
The tension inside the Cleveland Browns facility right now feels completely different from what it was just a few months ago. This is no longer a quiet quarterback room where roles are understood and hierarchy is respected without question. Something has shifted, and everyone can feel it, from the coaching staff down to the players in the locker room. What used to be a stable situation built around Deshaun Watson is now turning into one of the most unpredictable and talked about position battles in the entire league. And right at the center of that storm is Shedeur Sanders, a young quarterback who is not just trying to prove himself, but is already starting to change the way the organization operates around him. From the moment players reported, there were small details that didn't go unnoticed. Reps that usually go to the established starter started leaning towards Sanders. The rhythm of practice subtly began to revolve around his timing, his throws, his command of the offense. Coaches weren't just evaluating him anymore, they were trusting him. That's a huge difference. In the NFL, trust is earned slowly, but when it comes quickly, it sends a message to everyone in the building. And right now, that message is loud and clear. This is no longer just a developmental phase for Sanders. This is a real opportunity to take control. What makes this situation even more intense is the growing pressure surrounding Watson. Not long ago, he was seen as the unquestioned leader of this offense, the player the franchise invested in, the face of their long-term plans. But now, the conversation has changed. It's no longer about when Watson will return to form. It's about whether he can hold on to his position at all. Every throw he makes is being compared. Every decision is being analyzed. And in today's environment, where social media amplifies everything instantly, even off-field moments are adding fuel to the fire. Criticism is getting louder, and patience is starting to wear thin. Meanwhile, Sanders is doing exactly what you would expect from someone trying to take over a team. He's staying composed, focused, and efficient. He's not forcing the spotlight, but somehow it keeps finding him anyway. Teammates are paying attention. You can see it in the way receivers respond to him, the way the offense moves when he's under center. There's a different kind of energy, a sense of timing and confidence that feels natural rather than forced. And those are the kinds of things that coaches notice immediately, even if they don't always say it publicly. The most telling part of all this isn't what's being said in press conferences. It's what's happening behind the scenes. The distribution of reps, the body language during drills, the subtle adjustments in play calling. These are the details that reveal the truth, and right now they're pointing in one direction. Sanders is not being treated like a backup. He's being prepared like a starter. And once that shift happens inside an organization, it becomes very hard to reverse. For Watson, this isn't just a competition. It's a defining moment. Quarterbacks in the NFL are judged not only by talent, but by timing, momentum, and perception. And right now, all three are leaning towards Sanders. That doesn't mean the job is officially his yet, but it does mean the margin for error has completely disappeared. One mistake feels bigger. One missed opportunity carries more weight. Because on the other side, there's a player who is steadily building belief with every snap he takes. Inside that building, nobody is saying it outright, but everyone understands what's at stake. This isn't just about choosing a starter for week 1. This is about deciding the future direction of the franchise. And as things stand today, that future is starting to look very different than what anyone expected.
But so I think what they're going to do is, I really don't think Watson has a shot. He's been away from the game for so long. He's had basically 2 Achilles injuries. I think his credibility in the locker room has been compromised because of his past. I just think there's too many things with it. And so I think Shedeur Sanders finds himself in a remarkable position to be a 5th-round draft pick, to have a losing record as a starter, as a rookie, and have a legitimate chance to be the starting quarterback opening day the following season. It doesn't happen often. In fact, I have thought about it. I don't know that I can remember another scenario like that in the National Football League. So if they don't draft a quarterback, and I think there's a lot of people that believe that they won't, I think he's got a good chance. He should be in the building to try to prove that he can play at a starter level.
What makes this situation even more explosive is that it's no longer confined to the practice field. The momentum surrounding Shedeur Sanders is starting to spill into every layer of the Cleveland Browns organization. And when that kind of shift begins, it doesn't just change depth charts. It changes belief, identity, and ultimately the direction of the entire franchise. Because in the NFL, once a locker room starts to quietly rally behind a new voice, the transition isn't gradual. It accelerates. Inside meetings, coaches are beginning to test Sanders in ways they normally wouldn't with a young quarterback. They're giving him more control at the line, more responsibility in reading defenses, more freedom to adjust plays. These aren't small privileges. These are the exact responsibilities that define a QB1. And the most important part isn't that he's being given these opportunities. It's that he's handling them with a level of calm that's turning heads. There's no panic in his decision-making. No hesitation in his execution. When a defense shifts, he responds. When a play breaks down, he adapts. And every time he does that successfully, it builds another layer of trust. At the same time, the contrast with Deshaun Watson is becoming impossible to ignore. This isn't about one player being bad and another being good. It's about momentum moving in opposite directions. Watson is operating under a microscope where every imperfection feels magnified. Even routine plays don't carry the same confidence they once did. There's a slight delay here, a missed timing window there, and in a normal situation, those things might go unnoticed. But not now. Not in this environment. Because now every rep he takes is being silently compared to what Sanders just did moments before. And then there's the psychological side of this battle, which might be the most important factor of all. Quarterback competitions are never just about physical ability. They're about presence. The way a player commands a huddle. The way teammates react to his voice. The way the offense feels when he steps onto the field. Right now, there's a growing sense that Sanders is beginning to own those moments. It's subtle, but it's real. Receivers are sharper in their routes. The tempo feels smoother. There's less second-guessing, less visible frustration. And over time, those small differences start to define who the team naturally follows. What's even more interesting is how quickly this shift has happened. Usually, a transition like this takes an entire season, sometimes longer. But here, it feels compressed, almost accelerated by circumstances. The expectations around Watson, the hunger for change within the organization, and Sanders stepping in at exactly the right moment. It's all combining into something that feels bigger than a normal competition. It feels like a turning point. And behind closed doors, the front office is absolutely paying attention. Because this isn't just a coaching decision, it's a financial and strategic one. Watson represents a massive investment, a commitment that was supposed to anchor the franchise for years. Moving away from that, even partially, isn't something teams take lightly. But the NFL has always been a league where reality eventually overrides plans. If one player gives you a better chance to win, everything else becomes secondary. And right now, Sanders is making that argument stronger with every single practice. You can also sense that the media pressure is starting to influence the narrative in a powerful way. Analysts, reporters, insiders, they're all picking up on the same signals. The QB1 treatment that Sanders is receiving isn't being imagined. It's visible. It's measurable in reps, in play design, in the way the offense is structured around him during key moments. And once that narrative takes hold publicly, it creates even more pressure internally. Because now, it's not just a team decision. It's a story that the entire league is watching unfold. For Watson, this creates a situation where he's not only competing against another quarterback, but against momentum itself. And momentum is one of the hardest things to stop in sports. You can't tackle it, you can't scheme against it, you can only outperform it. That means he doesn't just need to be good, he needs to be undeniable. He needs to create moments so strong that they shift the conversation back in his favor. And so far, that hasn't happened. Meanwhile, Sanders continues to build his case in the most effective way possible. No dramatic statements, no forced heroics, just clean execution over and over again. And that's what makes this even more dangerous for the established order. Because when a young quarterback takes over without disruption, without controversy, it becomes very easy for a team to embrace the change. There's no resistance, no division, just a natural transition toward what feels like the better option. As this battle continues, one thing is becoming clearer with each passing day. This is no longer about potential versus experience. It's about present performance versus past expectations. And in that kind of equation, the advantage can shift very quickly. Right now, all the subtle indicators, the reps, the trust, the rhythm of the offense, the reaction of teammates, are aligning in one direction. And if that trend continues, the Cleveland Browns won't just be making a quarterback decision. They'll be stepping into a completely new era, one that nobody expected to arrive this soon, but one that now feels closer than ever. And now, everything is reaching the point where a decision can no longer be delayed. Inside the Cleveland Browns organization, this is no longer just a competition that can quietly play out over time. The reps, the trust, the momentum, the locker room energy, it's all building toward a moment where someone has to take control, officially. Because the closer the season gets, the more dangerous uncertainty becomes. What makes this ending even more intense is that both paths come with consequences. If the Browns stay with Deshaun Watson, they're choosing experience, investment, and the hope that he can still return to the level they believed in. But if they turn to Shedeur Sanders, they're choosing momentum, chemistry, and the undeniable reality of what's happening right now on the field. One decision protects the past. The other embraces the future. And in situations like this, teams don't just evaluate performance. They feel the shift. They feel when a locker room starts leaning in one direction. They feel when the offense moves differently, when confidence spreads instead of being forced. Those are the moments that define franchises for years, not just seasons. Because once a team commits to a quarterback, everything else follows. The system, the identity, even the culture. Right now, Sanders isn't just knocking on the door anymore. He's standing right in front of it, forcing the organization to either open it or try to hold it closed against growing pressure from every side. And the longer this goes on, the harder it becomes to ignore what's happening in plain sight. This isn't hype. This isn't projection. This is a real shift unfolding in real time. For Watson, this is the kind of moment that defines careers. Not the early success, not the expectations, but the response when everything starts slipping away. Because great players don't just rely on what they've done before. They find a way to reclaim control when it matters most. And if he can't do that here, in this moment, with everything on the line, then the decision might be made for the Browns, without anyone needing to say it out loud. And that's what makes this situation so powerful right now. It feels like we're watching the exact second where a franchise changes direction. Not slowly, not quietly, but all at once. One more strong performance from Sanders. One more moment where the offense clearly belongs to him. And the balance could tip completely, beyond recovery. Because the real question is no longer who has the higher ceiling. It's who gives this team control right now. And if the answer stays the same over the next few days, then the Cleveland Browns won't just be making a quarterback decision. They'll be making a move that could shock the entire NFL. So the only thing left to watch is this. When the final call comes, will they stay loyal to the name they trusted, or will they pull the trigger on the future nobody saw coming?